caregiver and an advocate for caregivers. And we're going to continue our conversation about aging in place. Are you equipped? How you doing, Keisha?
I'm doing well, Sean. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. So, what do you want to tell us more about aging in place? We talked a lot about it last time you were on the show, and
Yeah.
also we have some new information we want to share with audiences, things that they can do to make sure that they're prepared.
Yeah. Well, 2 months ago, I talked about asking the hard questions to our loved ones, and then last month, you're right, we talked about the solo aging part. And this month, where I'm tying it in with aging in place, and they're all relatively tied together. The difference between more of the solo aging is um, building a community for yourself, making sure that there's others that has maybe your potential information to be able to help you out, whether you're letting a neighbor know, or maybe you have a spouse that is not able to help you, or you may have a child with special needs that cannot help you. It's just making sure you're prepared and you're not alone. Now, with agent in place, it's more of that, but it's also adding you're living in your apartment, you're living in your townhouse, you're living in your single family home. Are you equipped to be able to continually grow and age in that particular place? There was a study that was done probably about a decade ago, and the poll was asking people how many people want to live to be able to age in their own home. It was 90% of people said that they wanted to age in their own home, meaning that they didn't want to go to any type of nursing home or rehabilitation or assisted living. But the challenge with that, of the 90 people that said they want to age in their own home, about 90% of our homes are not prepared for us to age in place.
Hmm. Is this because the homes are too big? They have stairs, too many dangerous things because people are familiar with what they've grown up with, so or grown old with, I should say. So they're not really thinking about what they should change.
It could be because the home is too big, but you could take advantage of the home being too big. It may be that because of the size of it, it may allow you to bring in a stair lift,
Hmm.
or if you have the funds, maybe somebody can bring in have an elevator put in their home, or it allows you, if you have a mobility device like a wheelchair, to maybe to be able to maneuver a little bit better if you have a larger home. So that could be it. If you're in a smaller home, it could be that maybe it's too small for you to successfully age in place, but you may not have the money to be able to move somewhere. So what do you do when you're in those in a smaller place or an apartment or something like that? So those are the things that I really wanted to talk about in terms of what can we do to help us to be able to age in place.
Remind me of a story. I'm not sure if I saw this on a movie or saw this on a news article, but there was an elderly couple, an elderly woman who her husband had passed away, and she took in veterans because she had such a huge home. She took in veterans into her home, and then basically what they were doing, the veterans all had different things that they specialized in. Like one person was the cook, one person was like the medic, one person was like the runabout person to go run errands, things like that. But they all lived in this home as seniors, taking care of each other.
Yeah, it's helpful to have that network, and that's one of the challenges for as you age, your network becomes smaller. You know, I may have mentioned it on the show multiple times that my mom was one of 13. So my grandmother had these 13 children, and all my grandmother really catered to was her family. And
Mm.
unfortunately for my grandmother, her children started passing before her. My grandmother passed at the age of 102.
Wow.
And so she didn't have friends for the most part. I mean, there were a few church friends that she used to have. My grandfather was the pastor of the church when they were younger. But when she got older, she had her children, she had her sons, her daughters, she had her grandchildren, she had her great grand, she had her great great grand. So she didn't have a network outside really of her family. And sometimes when you have that, especially I'll say your children, those that grow up around you, you could be 85, 90, 95, and they sometimes have a tendency not to see you as older. They just still see you as mama or daddy. And so where you're slowing down and things that you can't do, people don't realize that that's a part of your aging.
Mm. So, what are some of the things that people can do to make their homes more prepared I know I helped a lady one time. She was a senior that was in a neighborhood that had changed demographically, unfortunately for the worse. So she wanted to get out. She called me up one day, panicking, saying, "Somebody tried to break into my house today. I'm out of here. You got to get me out of this place." So she found a nursing home or assisted living facility. It wasn't really a nursing home. That's the wrong word. An assisted living facility where she had the money to afford it. People were around her to take care of her. But one of the things that they helped her with the transition was making sure that everything was on one level. She had no stairs to climb up and down, and everything was spaced out in her home because they meticulously looked at the furniture, making sure the furniture was in the right places so she wasn't tripping and bumping into stuff as she was moving around. What are some of the things that you can recommend that people think about when they prepare their homes as they get older?
Well, definitely that falls right in line. One of the things is to just start, if you want to start from outside, a lot of times when you get older, your hands are not capable of grabbing knobs and different things like you used to, whether it's arthritis or different things that you could be having challenges with your hand. One of the things is recommended to get something with a lever. Now, that could be for the outside door or the inside door. Maybe even outside your front door, putting like uh, not a desk, something to sit stuff on.
Okay.
Well, if you're managing trying to carry a package in the house, that you can sit it down so you could take your time to be able to open the front door. You want to make sure that you have a wide enough doorway so that you can freely get access in and out of your home in case you do have mobility issues where you need a scooter or a wheelchair. Another thing that you could look for outside of your home is putting a ramp in there. And I'll just switch and say people in the VA, I'm sorry, us that are military veterans, the VA can do an assessment for that as well to be able to potentially come in and help you put a ramp in, or maybe you have become an amputee and different things like that. You also want to make sure for your outside that it is extremely well lit at all times. You want to make sure that if you are, whether you're solo or whether there's someone else, that if you're going out of town, you're going on vacation, that you don't allow mail to pile up if you're getting mail directly at your house, because that can be an opportunity for someone to come in and notice that and rob you because they see that mail is piling up.
Mm.
And as we transition in the house, let's just say you're doing a home improvement, and this is still outside, but it's inside. Let's just say you're doing a home improvement to be able to help you take out the shower, the tub, and put in the shower, because we know bathroom is one of the number one places that we have falls. Say for instance, you have someone coming in, a company that's remodeling, and they put that stake outside. This is, Sean Claiborne's home remodeling, whatever, that stake, and they put it out there. You have to be really careful about even things like that being outside your house for safety reasons. It's okay to have it, but it had been reported that a lady was having some work done in her house. Someone saw that sign outside. They came to her after hours and said that they were a part of this Sean Claiborne home improvement company, and they had left something in, and they forced themselves in there, and they hurt the lady very bad. And
Wow.
if her husband, she was calling out to her husband, and if her husband had not have helped her out, it probably would have been a little bit more, even worse than that.
Mm. So being aware of who's coming in and out of your home, maybe getting security cameras if you're not haven't done that already, and then talking to the people who are in their 50s and 60s and older, who still haven't really got to the point where they might need or think about caregiving, but need to think about caregiving, make preparations, maybe figuring out a way to put cameras in your house, the different systems that they have out there, so you can watch and see what's going on inside and outside your home. If you're having people do work on your home, find out who's in the crew, how many guys are here. Call if somebody's there after hours that seems suspicious. Have the contractor's number on hand so you can call the contractor up and say, hey, why is this person here, or who's this person? I
Yeah.
think that's really, really good tips. And then also one of the things I think is really important to think about is the cost, because like we have VA support, but some people don't have VA support. Well, I don't have VA support because I don't have the medical ratings and all that stuff like that you need, and all that stuff in my time of service. But a lot of people don't have the monetary means to do these types of things. So what are some ways that people can use to try to either do it themselves, or are there any types of financial aid or assistance out there for people to get this stuff, to get their home modified for aging?
I always recommend, and I'll continually say this forever when I'm talking to people. I would always recommend checking with your local, your counties, your HOAs, go to your library, just different things. Find out local things that are happening in your area to see if you can get, maybe there's some grants, there's some assistance that will be able to help you. But the local area agency on agency, they're so well connected with so many different organizations and programs and plans in the community to be able to provide and help you with those things. A Ring doorbell or some of the other monitoring doorbells are phenomenal to be able to have. I've shared with people, if you don't have that, if you can't afford to purchase one, if you have a baby monitor, there's different things that you can get that may not necessarily be for outside, but they're also helpful for you inside. And then some of it is just really assessing, what do you value, right? It may be a little bit expensive to get it, but is it worth it in the end? Is it better to have a monitoring system and maybe cut back and not eating a particular thing? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or if it's something that you like, you have to weigh the pro and cons to determine, is this something that I need? Is it something that I want? Is it something that's going to be helpful? Is it something that's going to be beneficial to me?
Mhm. I think it's also a good idea to not be ashamed or be afraid and not consider yourself too young or too old to ask for help. People like what you're doing in your organizations you work with, reaching out to the professionals that are out there that can actually help you, financial advisors, agents, things like that, people that at the Department of Aging and things along those lines in your community that can give you advice, oftentimes with no cost. So you can go to these people and get information as to get advice as to what you can do and how you can pay for this stuff. Now,
Yeah.
one topic, I don't know if you've done any research on this, but I wanted to bring up, so I think it's important because this topic comes up a lot, and that's reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgages are a thing that people oftentimes are things that are sold to seniors. There's good, of course, and bad to these things.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on those as far as a way to finance or pay for a lot of the stuff that aging seniors might need?
Well, I don't have a background in it. For seniors, I always recommend as well to find a good elder care attorney, to find someone to be able to talk to be able to ask those questions. Because what may be good, like you said, for someone may be a horrible decision for someone else. And then there's so many people that will try to scam you. And
Mhm.
so your intention could be really well, but then it could turn out to be horrible. And if you don't do it right, then you could wind up losing your home. It could be turned over to someone else. And then what do? You out there, you're stuck. Now, in terms of some of the things that you can do, I was mentioning maybe a baby monitor or different things like that. Um, these are very, very practical, more affordable things. I'll say like this. Sometimes people do not like to use paper plates. I've had people that you cannot fix a plate for them and it has to be a regular plate.
Yes, I'm one of those
See,
guys.
see, but this is the thing for me.
Mhm.
A plate could be a handicap for you. You could
Mhm.
go to reach, grab a plate, it could fall, it could drop, it could shatter. If you have a paper plate and you drop a paper plate and food spills, you pretty much didn't hurt anything but the floor and time to clean it up. So that's something really small to take in consideration that you may want to do to help you out. And it may be a transition. Okay, say, Sean, we'll use this as this example. You don't like to use paper plates. How about starting January the 1st, 2025, should the Lord allow us to live to see that? Then maybe once a week you say, you know what? I'm going to use a paper plate. And
I think I
then
can work more push-ups and see how that turns out.
so I'm just saying it's those different things.
Mhm.
Maybe in your home, you have a lot of heavy, bulky furniture.
Mhm.
Maybe it's time to start getting rid of some of those things while you have somebody that can help you. Now, even me, myself, I had a lot of artwork that I had in my house when I first, started getting my house, all this glass, nice frame. What I've actually started doing is taking all of those down and replacing those with canvas. So now I've gone to something that may have been like 5 to 7 pounds. Honestly, when you pick up this big picture with this glass, that if it falls and shatter, I can get hurt, to a canvas that's like 2 pounds.
Mhm.
I mean, not even 2 pounds. And so it's little things like that. Start decluttering, getting rid of stuff. And
Mhm.
if you don't do it for no other reason, most of the stuff that we say we're going to get into, we never get back into those clothes, or for our own style or preference, it's probably something that we will never wear again anyway. Let's get rid of those things. Let's make it accessible to walk around and have space all around our bed or in our kitchen where we don't have so many gadgets just shoved in a drawer that we're not using. So those are some very practical things that we could do to help us out as we age.
I think you're right. I mean, furniture and things you have in your basement, as we get older, we tend to just collect things. We collect all this stuff, as George Carlin said once in the comedy bit. We just collect a lot of stuff, but we don't actually know what to do with it. And we haven't even used it in many years. And we always say, well, I might need that one day. But reality is, you know, you're never going to use that thing, that little weird thing sitting in your basement or your drawer that you don't even know what it is, but you think you might need it for some reason because it might just suddenly disappear what it's for or what it is. Get rid of it, throw it in the trash, declutter, and start the process. Because I think the longer you wait, and I've seen this with my family and people that I've worked with, the longer you seem to wait, the harder it is to get rid of it.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even know what you have. I remember going from assignment to assignment in the military. I got so many plaques, awards, whatever of the year, all of these different things, and they wind up getting stored in the garage. Every time I go and then I move to another place and then they get stored in the garage. And it's like, oh, I'm going to make my office, all of this. And you never do it. But now that I'm a lot older and I think about me and I tell my family, it's not morbid. When I think about dying, nobody in my family is going to understand what that plaque was for. And so me holding on to it, I feel bad to hold on to things that should I pass, that somebody in my family is just now going to have to get rid of. And so I inserted myself, and not just the military things, because there are certain things that have very strong value to me in the military, but there's other things that I've had stored, book boxes or whatever. There's a lot of things that I've gotten rid of. One of my relatives recently bought a house, and I was telling the person they have all of this stuff in storage. And so they said, well, I just want to move, but I'm going to keep the stuff in storage. And I was saying, by the time you pay monthly for that storage, do you realize if you got rid of it, the thing that you're holding on to, you could buy it brand new. It might have been like a bed frame. And so, but we don't think about those things, and we don't think about, well, I have this king size mattress or this king size frame. As you get older, maybe you don't need that king size because you're downsizing or whatever. Maybe you only need a queen or maybe only a full. So get rid of it.
People don't realize that there's folks out there. I have a lady in my back pocket. Her name is Kat, and I shout out to Kat if she sees this. But she is a person that when I run into seniors that have situations that you're talking about, she is a person that for a fee will go into your home and she will inventory everything in your home. And she does a lot of estate sales when people pass away. But even before a person passes away, a lot of people that do estate sales and do consignment jobs, they'll come in and they'll inventory the things in your home and sell it for you.
Yes.
Sometimes they'll even give you a check up front. They'll give you a check up front, take all your stuff away, haul it all away. And if they get more money for what they sell, they'll send you a second check. Or they'll just have somebody come by your house and just buy all of it outright for a set price that you determine or you accept.
And that's a challenge for a lot of people because we see that stuff and we don't want to get rid of it. And there are a lot of people that are they hoard. They don't need it, and family members have had to go in, whether it was when their parent was alive, or of course when they were alive, or even after the person has passed, and you go in there and you find all of this stuff boxed on top of boxes. I have a family member that goes in to help a family member to declutter, and there are countless of Amazon order boxes of things that are never open, to the fact where now she gives my relative these things for gifts to help her clean out, but she's still buying more. And so we have to be so careful with all of these different things. The whole purpose of being able to age in place is to be able to downsize in some particular areas, to be able to declutter, to be able to allow, if someone needs to come into your house, to be able to move about freely. I want to make sure that I say this because I think this is so important. A lot of times when we're thinking about whether it's solo aging in place, we based it off of an age. I don't think we should base solo aging or aging in place off of age as more as we should base it off of your health. Right. And the reason why I say that is because let's just say you were deployed or something, and now you're an amputee. So you need assistance. Or I have one of my brothers, his hand, I forgot what you call it, but he cannot open his hand for the most part. And he just turned 60. And so if you're saying, okay, 65 is the age, but that may not necessarily be it. You may be 30, you may be 35, you may be 40. So if you get out of the mindset of saying, I'm old, because we fear the thought of becoming old. Like I've said before, when we get that letter from AARP at 50, we just kind of spaz out with that. And if we stop thinking about age or our family age, if we think about health, I think it would help us to help ourselves to put things in place for us to be able to age in place better.
Right. Ability over age, I think, is really critical to kind of hammer that point home. And then once again, getting ahead of it instead of waiting, because we pretend to procrastinate. And then as long as we procrastinate, from the experiences that I've had, and I've lost lots of friends, in situations, a lot of older friends that I passed on. That one common thing that I saw, procrastination was one of the things. Not being able to recognize when you start to lose your faculties. This because it's happened sometimes slowly and gradually to the point you don't realize what you've lost in your abilities.
Yeah, there's even there's some organizations that have partnered together with the CDC, and they came up with this falls free checklist. And again, it's not based off of some of the questions that is a questionnaire they have. Have you fallen within the last 12 months, or have you been advised to use like a cane or a walker, or do you need do you feel unsteady when you're walking, or do you need assistance to be able to just stand? Like, do you have to push up to be able to stand? Those are not based off of I'm 65-year-old. Let me ask that question. You may be 45 and need to ask those questions.
Right.
Do you have medication? Are you taking medication that makes you drowsy? You don't have to be 95 years old or a person with dementia to be able to ask that question. But if we get out of the number and let's just be real about this, about ourselves, about our health, about our family, it's easier to say, you know what, I need to consider doing some things to age in place. And I want to go back to something else that's very practical. A lot of times you want to make sure within the house things are well lit, and they'll tell you to come in and maybe have an electrician to come in, but you may not be able to afford an electrician. I would recommend that you get more LED bulbs, because the probability of replacing them more than the other light bulb that's going to go out and is less, right? You usually don't have to replace them more often. You won't have to stand on a ladder, but you may be able to go to like the dollar store or like your Home Depot or something like that and get the little LEDs that light up when you walk, which saves you money from having to pay for an electrician to be able to come in and do things for you. I may have mentioned it on the last podcast, I'm not sure. If you can afford it, I highly recommend getting a bidet. It seems like that's not something that we talk about in the United States, although it's becoming more popular, but having a bidet can be such a helpful for a family member, for the caregiver, and for the person that's being cared for as well.
Really? How is that? How so? Tell me
So,
more.
if you think of, well, first of all, older people, or again, I'll say it like that because we're talking about aging from a perspective, are a lot colder. So depending on the seat, it's going to be warm right away. So that right there is very, very helpful. When you have this bidet, it will, depending on the one that you have, it's more sanitary because it's going to kind of start cleaning the bowl even before the person sits, right? It's going to make sure if a person is using the bathroom, you can put the water on to help clean them, to clean their bottom, right? To help clean their front, to dry their front, to dry their bottom. And so that's helping you as the caregiver, and it's helping the individual, maybe helping them get less UTIs, right? And just to be more sanitary in their thing, especially if you're caring for, you talked about your mom and your brother is staying with your mom. Say like, as your mom gets older, let's just say there's something and she does not want either one of her sons in the bathroom with her when she's using the bathroom. But this is a way for her to keep maintain her dignity, if I can say it like that, and to be able to help clean herself. Because we know even when people are older and they're, whether in assisted living, at home, the possibility of maybe getting bed sores or going to the bathroom on themselves is going to be, can be a little bit more prevalent. But having this bidet can actually help in some of those areas as well.
Yeah. My mom, she's definitely not shy. She would pick up the cell phone and call you to come out and help.
Well, that's really good. Yeah.
She don't no shame to her.
That's really good. That's a compliment to your mom.
Right. We've always been that type of family where we don't, there's nothing taboo and nothing that is, we don't just talk about. We get real. We always talk real stuff and real topics. And that's one of the things that I think is important for families, to be honest with one another and say, hey, mom, you need a power of attorney. You got to have a power of attorney for medical and one for property. That's super important.
Yeah.
Mom, you can't get rid of the car. You can't drive no more. I mean,
well, that's good.
Home from the grocery store. We got to get rid of this car.
That is so good. And so rare, because, but that's not the norm for a lot. But there's two things I wanted to mention for aging in place. There's something called a NORC. I don't know if you ever heard it. It's really the naturally occurring retirement community. Those are these communities where they're naturally, older people are in those communities. Some say it's based off of you. 40% of the community is 65 and older. Some say 50 and 65% of the community, different things. But it's a community that has naturally become older based off of the people that live in that community. They kind of unite and help each other out. A NORC is something to look into. The other thing is called Village to Village Network. Now, the Village to Village Network is literally a network, and these are all around the United States, and there may be some overseas, where there's literally people that are staffed to help people to age. You may have volunteers that could come into your home to be able to help you with your medications, or to come cut your grass and different things like that. So I highly recommend people to do a Google search on Village to Village Network to see if there's one in your area, or to see if you want to start one in your area to help those that are aging and help them to be able to age in place.
And then, Keisha, I would also ask you if you have contacts in those for those organizations, see if they can come on our show, because people will love to hear what they do and what they provide. And I live in Chicago, but my mother lives in Maryland with my brother. There was an agency in Anne Arundel County where they were actually, it was two agencies. One was private, one was funded by Anne Arundel County, where they had people come into homes and either to provide free respite care, where someone can sit down with a senior and just to talk or clean up or do whatever. And there was one interesting group that I can't remember the name of, because I have to go back and research that number, but you brought that to my attention, or back to my memory. It was an organization that started decades ago. A lady needed help with someone in her family. She couldn't find any help. So she created a network of this regular everyday people. And what you do is you sign up to volunteer, and then you go and help somebody with whatever they need. You list your skills. Maybe all you can do is drive. Maybe you can cook. Maybe you can paint. Maybe you can just sit with somebody and just talk for a couple of hours. They call and they have that person come into your home and they do whatever you need help with, putting up, hanging a picture, changing a light bulb, sweeping the garage out, cooking something, or just talking for a few hours. But then either if you are able to, whatever you're able to do, you can then volunteer yourself to pay it back. So instead of paying money, you use kind of an equal opportunity volunteering system. So for my mother, I volunteered to provide, driving, fixing something contractor wise, whatever it might be. I thought it was a very cool and novel idea to me of how communities can come together. They started with like 10 people, and now there's like thousands of people that have volunteered for this group, or you can call them any time of the day and somebody is able to come out and make an appointment with you to come out and do whatever you want to do health wise, or even if it's something just as simple as, hanging a picture.
Yeah, and that sounds very much like the Village to Village Network. So hopefully, Sean, the things that we've covered can help some people to look at some different things, and remember that aging, I believe, is more on your health than on your age. And we'll keep working and see if we can get some people to put some things in place for ourselves and for others, especially our loved ones.
Keisha L. Jackson, U.S. Air Force veteran and family caregiver advocate. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Sean.
See you next time.